Hey, what's up? So today I'm going to be doing kind of like a critique of a video done by someone named Paige Layle. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. She did a reaction video to Mark Rober's video where he talks about his autistic son. Now, I got to be honest, I did not like Mark Rober's original video where he talks about his autistic son and kind of like really gushes over his son, which I get it, he's a father. But anyway, let's just get right into it without babbling on too long.
So protective of him is because he has special needs.
Here's the first thing. You'll find that Mark says special needs about 85 times in this video. I'm so over it, Mark. My biggest problem with special needs is that I really need everyone to stop thinking that our needs are special and so spectacular and like beyond the norm. Neurodiversity is normal, and our needs deserve to be accommodated at all times. Having special needs or anything that is outside of what people think is typical, like, should also be typical. And you will see that he also dances around the word disabled.
He's on the autistic.
Okay, so from what I understand, Paige is autistic herself. So she's obviously not a fan of Mark Rober's video where he's talking about his autistic son and using some language that she's not a fan of. Um, as for special needs, it's a euphemism. Like I'm not going to try and defend the euphemism, but she has to understand where this word came from. In the past, people referred to these people as retarded people, mentally retarded people. Then people started using other terms like special needs. There were other offensive terms in the past. Idiot savant was another. That's another place on the spectrum. Um, so this this idea that autistic people don't need special needs, um, they need needs. They have needs that are different from other people. I don't know what else to tell you. If you find the word special needs offensive, well, yeah, there have been people who use the word special needs in an offensive way. I've used those words in an offensive way. I'm not gonna lie. I've called other people special needs people to make fun of their stupidity. I'll admit it. So I kind of get why she might be offended by it, but her reasoning behind it, that autistic people don't require special needs, that it's normal. This I have to disagree with. To describe it as normal, what is normal? What implies normalcy? Normal functioning behavior, um, normal brain functioning. Is the behavior expressed in autistic people normal? Is the brain functioning normal? And I don't think it is. I mean, normal is one of those loaded words that's inevitably going to offend someone because if you're not in that group, you're gonna. What else can you be other than abnormal? So I kind of understand why she would be offended by these things or why she would try to normalize autism because she's autistic herself. Um, my question to her would be, do you think sociopathy is normal? Isn't that a type of mental behavior that is atypical? Um, Now, you could say there's a big difference between sociopathy and autism, but I could then counter that by saying there's a big difference between an autistic person and an autistic person. There, no two autistic people are alike. So, like, what you include as part of that spectrum is arbitrary. There is no objective criteria that describes what an autistic person is. It is just what we have arbitrarily assigned as part of that spectrum. But there's no, well, you could, if you wanted to, include people with all kinds of different kinds of mental disorders. I mentioned before idiot savant. I don't even know if that's part of an autism spectrum. It might not be, but you could include it if you want to. Why not? You could include cerebral palsy in that spectrum. Why not? You could include any number of different aberrant types of uh, either behaviors or cognitive processes. So I challenge this idea that autism is normal, but we'll proceed on.
Spectrum, and this is the internet. So even as I make this video, I'm incredibly terrified, but this is something.
So fair. I think that I understand what he's coming from.
Okay, let's just skip
Whereas
ahead.
And a lot of times when people hear he has autism, they want to know what he's really good at. Like, does he have a photographic memory? Or can he do really complex math in his head? For example, if you tell my son's friend any date from any year, he will tell you the day of the week it lands on.
This is my problem here again. I think what Mark is trying to say is that not all autistic people have a special ability thing, and that is completely true. You do not need to have something that you're spectacular at to be a valid disabled person. But then he goes on to show another autistic boy who does have a very unique, special ability. And I just think that that's very inspiration porn-y. Skipping through it because I hate it.
No idea how he has the
Okay, inspiration porny. I kind of sort of get what she's saying, and I might even agree. Really, my critique, I won't delay any longer. My critique of Mark Rober's video is that it is like romanticizing autism. And she's just kind of articulating it in a different way. But yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah, he's romanticizing autism. However, I'm almost positive we disagree. I disagree with Paige on whether it's normal. I don't think autism is normal. I don't think it's a desirable trait at all. There's so many problems associated with autism that aren't desirable, and for good reason. Um, Now, I get also why people don't want to talk honestly about those issues because autistic people get a lot of crap as it is, um, and they get bullied. They are a vulnerable group, but that doesn't excuse a lot of the bad behavior that manifests as a result of autism. And there is a lot of bad behavior that manifests as a result of autism. And this can incur harm in other people, okay, including other autistic people. Um, but without jumping ahead too much, all I'll say is in response to her gripe about this, um, I don't really mind that he brought in that kid to show off his talents. That was pretty impressive. That was pretty cool. I feel like she's a contrarian. I feel like she has a chip on her shoulder, which is, I believe, a symptom of her autism. I hate to say it, but she's kind of proving my point that autism, is, in her particular case, is encouraging kind of like a mean spirited, angry, contrarian, looking for anything to disagree with kind of personality. And I know this because I've encountered other autistic people exhibiting the same traits, and that is not good. You shouldn't just look desperately for anything to disagree with or anything to hate someone on. You should be more objective when you're analyzing a video and look for, when possible, points of agreement and then go from there instead of being so mean spirited, which is what I'm getting from her. Anyway, let's proceed onward. By the way, I'm not going to play the whole thing. It would just take way too long, but I want to get some main points across, so let's just keep going.
ability to do this, and he doesn't know how to communicate that to us either.
He doesn't know how to communicate that to us either. Can we stop pretending that this kid is a project for you? And Mark is like laughing and having a fun time, but it's like,
need some help.
You get what I'm saying here? You're picking up on the mean spiritedness and the kind of like just irascibility. Yeah, that's not good.
You need some help? Okay, let's go make Play-Doh. It's actually a common misconception, but the truth is the majority of the kids on the autistic spectrum don't have remarkable abilities like this.
that's a sentence in itself.
Our son, however, does have a remarkable ability,
I thought you just said that he didn't. I'm confused.
although if you
Okay, come on, let him at least finish the point. Like, he's gonna talk about how, like, his son's special ability is making people happy, which it's BS. It's just such a, like, feel good, oh, happy go lucky, romanticizing autism kind of thing. But you don't need to pick apart every little word that he's saying, right? Just saying. And that's another trait of autism that I've noticed, by the way, pedantry. Um, Yeah, I've gotten into arguments with autistic people online, and they have a tendency to be very pedantic. That is not a good trait. Okay, just saying.
You see him in public, this ability isn't immediately apparent.
Autistic people do not need to have an ability that you can see or anything to be valid and to be respectful members of society.
Crowded
I agree with that. Look, everyone should be treated with respect as long as they are respectful and don't exhibit harmful behavior. But the thing is, like, some people do, whether they're autistic or non-autistic, whatever you want to call them.
place, he might look disengaged, or it might seem like he doesn't really know what's going on. Carly Fleischmann has autism and was able to explain why this
Like, there was a weird cut there where she was gonna go on a tirade about something. Um, so she's gonna go on a tirade, but, like, it's weird. Like, just listen.
is. And what you should know about Carly is that because of her erratic behavior and because she can't speak, for years people thought she was just severely autistic and had
Man, the
other
anger,
extreme mental
seething.
handicaps. Until one day when they put her in front of a computer where she could type. And then they realized there was so much more going on in her head that
AAC is so important, and there are so many other methods of communication besides speech, and it is disgusting.
Okay, well, let's just skip ahead. This is not really important to my point.
Make people accept us in our autisticness. However, it oftentimes is because neurotypical people don't do it right and create this narrative.
Our brains are wired differently. We take in many sounds and conversations at once. I take over
So if you and I were having a conversation here in this park, I can ignore everything around me and just focus on your voice. Ice cream man ringing the bell behind me, and the kid crying because he's not getting any ice cream, and the cars going by, and the plane up there, as well as the train in the distance. Not to mention all of the different smells and the fact that the tag on my shirt is kind of rubbing on my back. It's sensory overload, and everything comes in all at once, and it's
I really wanted to skip that part, but I really wanted to include it to talk about it. That part just shows that this was not made for autistic people at all. And
Of course it wasn't. I can tell you that right now. That Mark Rober's video was not made for autistic people at all. It was made for non-autistic people. Um, I'll just spoil it for you. He was trying to hitch people up for money. Okay, he's e-begging. He wants to get people to donate to some cause to help autistic people. I don't know the details of it. I'm sure it's a noble cause, but it it was intended for non-autistic people, and it was making tremendous emotional pleas to them with the corny music, with the romanticization. I butchered that word of autism, and basically trying to communicate to non-autistic people that autistic people are human beings too, and they need help, and they need your help, and they're great people, and he's really playing that up. And that's what I didn't like. Like, I get why he did it. He needed to raise money. But it was super corny. It was super cringe. It was and I didn't like the normalization of of autistic people. Um, but yeah, let's listen to what she has to say.
that Mark had no care about autistic people. I'm really going to try to stay calm. Most
No, no, of course he cares about autistic people. His son is autistic. Of course he cares. He's just trying to communicate things to a non-autistic audience.
people don't care about autistics.
I agree with that.
Mark put that in so you could experience what it's like to be autistic, so you can accept his son.
Is that so bad trying to make other people understand because we can't read minds. I don't know if you know that. I can't put an autistic person's brain in my head. Okay, we need to have ways of making people understand our experiences, and that is really tough to do. Okay, so he's trying to do something to make other people understand. And honestly, like out of his entire video, that one part, actually, I appreciated that because it made me understand a little bit more about how an autistic brain might work. Maybe not everyone's autistic brain, but at least his son's.
So you can understand his son better. Mark
Exactly, exactly. That's exactly what the point of that was.
did not care to include or accommodate autistic people. Him putting that
Mm,
in was
he's not trying to get money from autistic people. That was the reason why. He wasn't trying. If he were to only get money from autistic people, he wouldn't raise much money. I'm just saying. Like I get why he's doing it.
awful to my autistic self watching it. This is not about autistics. This is for neurotypicals. This is for neurotypicals to be like, look, this is what autism is like. You should be creating a world that is more accommodating for your son than worrying about what everyone else thinks of your son.
So how is he supposed to do that? How is he supposed to create a world? He's one man. um, wow. I don't know how you're supposed to create a world that's more accommodating to his son, other than what he's already doing. He's raising money so other people can assist in that because he can't do it alone. Like she got me in an unusual position where I actually have to defend Mark Rober when I didn't even like his video. It's just she's raising really bad arguments. These are really bad arguments.
I'm really mad that he included that part. That's not fair. Let's keep going.
But at home, when he's
All right, maybe we'll just do one more little segment thing here because I don't want this to go on forever.
in a familiar environment without a bunch of distractions, you start to get a glimpse of who he really is.
That also kills me that who he really is in his autism. That all the things that make him autistic are not who he really is. Seems like Mark is really trying to separate autism from his son and trying to say that autism isn't a thing in general. You need to look beyond it. No, your son's autistic, Mark, and that's who he is. And that's it impacts every single part about who he is.
Plays to his
Um, she's implying that there's nothing wrong with being autistic. I have to disagree. Now, I don't think Mark Rober meant that. Um, I don't think he was trying to like disparage his son's autism. More like he recognizes the disadvantages it gives him in life. And if Paige doesn't understand that autism leaves you at a disadvantage in life, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, what more evidence do you need? You've lived. You know better than anyone else. Do you honestly think that you are advantaged by being autistic? Sure, it's a part of you. I agree with that. But I wouldn't wear it as a badge of honor. It's nothing to brag about. And that might sound mean. It might even sound offensive. But it's the truth. There's a reason why people don't want their kids to be autistic. Okay, there's a lot of fear mongering surrounding vaccines because of this false belief that it can cause autism. But if something did cause autism, I would encourage people to avoid it, whatever it might be, because autism is not a desirable characteristic. You don't want your kids to be autistic. You don't want to be autistic. Um, it confers no real meaningful benefit. Um, the super ability is trivial compared to all the disadvantages, and as she and Mark pointed out, not all autistic people have that super ability. It's very rare, and even more rare where it's actually useful for anything. um, and I know that this is going to be heavy on a lot of people, but someone needs to put it bluntly. I guess that someone's got to be me. Um, being autistic is not normal. It's not normal. It is an aberrant deviation from the norm. I know that's hurtful, but I don't like this idea of trying to normalize autism as if there's nothing wrong with it. Of course there's something wrong with it. It is not a desirable trait. Look at what you can see what it's done to her. It's made her extremely irascible. It has made her very contrarian. And I know that like there's so many other people. Like, look, there's non-autistic people with those traits too. I don't want to just pick on her, but I'm noticing those traits. I see it. I see it with my own two eyes. All right, one more thing. One more thing.
Remarkable ability I mentioned earlier, and it has to do with how he spends his free time at home by himself. When he first meets someone, he will ask important questions like,
I just want to throw this out there. I hate that guy. I know that guy on the right. He's such a hick. All right, just moving on.
what your favorite color is, and if your house has stairs. Then the first chance he gets, he will make you a full-page mural.
Did we see the puzzle piece shirt? It's okay to be... Oh god, I'm nervous of what that says.
Completely covered in about 2 pounds of your favorite crayon color, and he'll write you a personal letter on the back. As you can see, he takes this job pretty seriously, and so we are constantly running out of envelopes and stamps. What's so remarkable to see as his parents is how happy people become when they get one of his letters. And the letters themselves certainly aren't any literary masterpiece.
Oh, the letters, they're just not, they're not any literary masterpiece. Stop.
Is that really so hard? Is that really such a hurtful or wrong thing to say? Okay, maybe it is hurtful, but it's not wrong. They aren't literary masterpieces. It's just something that a little kid is doing, and you say, pat him on the head and say, "Oh, that's very good." You're encouraging them, but you're not being honest. Well, stop being so honest and start being a little generous. That's a quote from a movie that I like. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know why that offended her. It's the truth. They aren't literary masterpieces. They're not works of art. If anything, they're works of modern art.
Stop with this. Why are you talking like this? Ah, I can't even say the right things. I'm just so...
Something special coming from him. Most kids are 12 years old, they get home from school and they're on their phones or they're thinking about themselves and how to look cool. But his biggest thrill is interacting with others. His superpower is making other people happy.
His superpower. Can we just normalize autistic humans being humans? Would you say this about a neurotypical? Oh, his superpower is making other people happy because they just think he's so cute.
Okay, that I half agree with that. Yeah, like we shouldn't be patronizing like that. It really is patronizing, isn't it? Or condescending. Like, yeah, their superpowers being a little midget. I don't know. That was super offensive, but you know, that's just me. That's my superpower, being offensive. Um, look, yeah, I agree. Being patronizing, being like he's not intentionally doing it. He's again trying to get non-autistic people to be sympathetic to autistic people. It's an act. It's a charade. It's just a way to e-beg and hitch people up for money to get them to donate, because if you don't make people feel good in an emotional way, they're not going to do shit about it. This is the oldest trick in the book. It is to appeal to people's emotions to get them to part with their money so that they give money to the cause that does all these things that you want them to do to make the world a better place for autistic people. Now, as for the first half of what she's saying, I do disagree with that. No, I don't agree with normalizing autism. Look, there are, and I need to be very careful with saying this, but there are autistic people who have committed acts of violence, okay? Sandy Hook shooting. Now, look, I know that's just one case. I could research and find more cases, but it's irrelevant. The point is that um, autism is not a normal thing. It can, in many ways, manifest as very aberrant and even in violent ways. Um, really, when I think of like autism, I compare it to something like sociopathy. Like, really, what is the difference? Now, their manifestations are different, but the only real difference is that sociopathy doesn't entail a manifestation that leaves the individual vulnerable to bullying. As far as I can tell, that's really the only difference. Because you could say, well, sociopathy necessarily is a negative trait and always results in harmful behavior, but that's not actually true. I mean, there are sociopaths and they are usually scumbags, but they're not always scumbags. I mean, I'm just saying. Um, and they're also not always violent, but sometimes they are. It can manifest in harmful, violent ways, but it can in autistic people too. And again, I know someone's going to be offended by me bringing up the Sandy Hook thing. And I know there's going to be people who will say, no, that had nothing to do with autism. That's a separate issue. I'm not going to get into that. But we can demonstrate with evidence that there is a very high probability that autism contributed to that behavior, that aberrant behavior. I'm not saying it's not the sole reason, but it was one of the reasons, and compounded with some other factors. Um, that act is not unique. Anyway, let's move on just a little bit. I don't want to play the whole thing, but maybe one more thing. I know that I said that 3 times in a row.
Stop infantilizing your 12-year-old son.
He also makes people
Infantilizing. I would say romanticizing. That's all. Yeah.
better. Birthday parties are a really big deal for him, even if it's not his. And everyone is always compassionate and patient with him, so he can make sure things happen just right.
People are always compassionate and patient with him. This is all about neurotypical people and what they think of his son.
Having a child with special
Yeah, he is kind of using his son as like a poster boy. So, well, I'll end on a point of agreement there, because I don't want this video to last another 500 hours or something. Anyway, yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to react. I probably said some offensive things in there, but you know, it kind of happens. It comes with the territory. In order to talk about these issues, you're obviously going to offend some people. I'm kind of politically incorrect, but I try my best to remain objective while remaining as respectful as possible. Um, I actually do appreciate Paige Layle for making this video. I think she's a beautiful girl. Um, I don't agree with a lot of what she's saying, but I did agree with a couple of things here and there. And you know, I hope my insight provided at least a different perspective. So that's all I gotta say. Anyway, see you guys later.